From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
Here we go. It's another edition of the 50/50 Podcast, powered by our proud partners, College Promoters USA. College Promoters USA, they are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. Located locally in the San Antonio area, you can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center. You can also find them on social media on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on the many awesome things they're doing and what they're about on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. My next guest, he is an individual that we are very excited to have here. He is the man in charge of one of the premier powerhouse programs in the state at the 4A level. He is Jeremy Shannon, the head women's soccer coach of the Boerne Greyhounds. Coach, welcome.
Hey, Hector, appreciate you having me on. Boerne is sure glad to be in the spotlight tonight. So I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We're definitely excited to have you here. We know you're going to bring that energy, right? That Greyhound energy, right? So see if maybe we can even get you to show up Coach Strong a little bit. See if you can outdo him a little bit. No pressure, right? No pressure. But
Coach Strong, you can't outdo Coach Strong now. Come on. He gets a little excited when he gets on the air.
Yeah, he might have a little bit more energy than me. Might. So I was, great guy. Shout out to Coach Strong as well and his boys squad. But we're not here to really talk about the boys tonight. We're here to talk about you and your girls, all right, the Lady Greyhounds. So before we dive in, Coach, and we really start talking a little bit more details in terms of your season, tell us briefly, right? So we got people listening across the state, across the country. Tell us briefly a couple of places where you've been, how you got to Boerne High School, and how long you've been there.
All right. Well, honestly, it's not a long road. I actually was just a football coach and track coach at Copper's Cove. If anybody knows where that is, that's in the Central Texas area. It's a roughly smaller 6A school, but I was there for 16 years. We with the football program there, we had a lot of success. I'd never coached soccer there, but then. Copper's Cove led me to Boerne. My wife is actually from Boerne. She grew up here. She graduated from Boerne High School, and that got us back in the area. And so I actually coached a year at Kerrville-Tivy because there was no openings at Boerne at the time. So we, had to commute back and forth. Me and my wife both did. And then luckily 5 years ago, Coach Hendricks got the head coaching job and athletic coordinator job and brought me along for the ride. So that's how long I've been here for 5 years now. And my first year of coaching soccer was actually 5 years ago. We had a coach that left mid-semester and they asked me to help. And so I was new to the sport. I watched it obviously on TV like a lot of people do, but just the nuts and bolts of everything. It was something I really had to learn. And like we talked about earlier, Coach Strong really helped guide me, mentor me a little bit in that aspect. And of course, I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of soccer since then. So I was actually an assistant coach under Coach Strong for my first year, and then also an assistant for the next coach that came in, Savannah Bryant. And then I was lucky enough to get the head job 3 years ago with another change in head coaching positions. The head coach left and went to somewhere in the Dallas area, and I was able to interview for the job, and here I am 3 years later.
Nice. Copper's Cove. That's the home of isn't it RG3?
Oh yeah, RG3.
Right.
That seems like what everybody knows about Copper's Cove. Yeah, I had the opportunity to, coach him in high school, not only in football but also in track. And so he's a heck of a guy, man. He's a heck of an athlete, freak of an athlete. But yeah,
Yeah,
he put us on the map for sure.
Yeah, awesome, great stuff. So I'm curious, right? So you kind of fit, I don't know, for lack of better words, right? Kind of the mold of you're a football guy, you're a track guy. All of a sudden, you're thrusted into a soccer opportunity. What did you quickly? I'm curious if you can be honest here. What you thought you knew about soccer before you started coaching it, and then once you actually got there, like what was the biggest shock? What was the biggest surprise?
Well, I think it's just like the day-to-day stuff. I mean, we always see games on the field. We see, great players moving the ball up and down the field, scoring goals. But how do you set that up? I mean, how do you set that and mimic that in practice? How do you, what type of drills? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I just had to start working on what drills we needed to work on. Like when I look at our team, I said, we need to work on passing. So I had to figure out, what are the best drills that will help accommodate that and make us better in that? And just shooting drills, just transitions offensively and defensively. And what formation are we going to play? I mean, so a lot of that had to do with getting out on the field and seeing the kids, we run a 4-4-2. I mean, that's no secret to anybody, where 90% of the, soccer teams run a 4-3-3. And so I think it's just a better game for us playing a 4-4-2. And so those are the things that, when you get out there and you start seeing the talent that you have on the field, I think, how do you utilize it the best? I think that's what you got to look at. I mean, that's what I felt was the hardest thing, is trying to get everybody in the right position, not knowing, an extensive amount and a lot of the background of soccer and the general, teaching of it. I had to figure that out for myself. And so I think that's been the biggest transition for me.
Yeah. Now, given that you didn't have previous soccer experience, right, and then you land there at a great quality program right there at Boerne, it just excels in all athletics, obviously. But how long did it really take you, given that you didn't have previous experience in terms of assessing talent? How long did it really take you to realize? I mean, did you really know what you initially had there in terms of the talent level when you first arrived? Obviously, by the time you transitioned into the head coaching position, you did. But when you first arrived, how long did that really take you?
Well, honestly, before me, I mean, Boerne soccer's been pretty dominant for many, many years, way before I was there. And so, and then I go back to, Coach Strong. I think Coach Strong helped me a lot on realizing, the talent that I had on the field and helping me, to place some of those people. He doesn't realize he did a lot of this stuff, but we had a lot of talks, and he kind of helped guide me without saying, like, this girl needs to play here and this girl needs to play here, but I think just him in general guiding me, that was, like, I think the biggest push to me and the biggest help to me, realizing where I should play a lot of our girls. But I mean, like I said, we've had a history of great teams here at Boerne. So a lot of the girls knew already what they were doing. I mean, it's not like I was reinventing the wheel. And so, I mean, that was just a big part of it.
Great stuff. So, yeah, not surprised whatsoever in terms of Coach Strong and kind of helping you becoming a mentor there. Not surprised at all. Have a feeling that guy's going to keep coming up tonight, right? So big shout out to him again. So now, we look briefly, right? Not that I want to bring up bad memories, Coach, but we look at last season, right? 24-5. You don't, you play obviously in a tough district. We're going to get to that in a minute, but you don't win a district title, but then you make that run. You weren't quite peaking yet. And then you get hot and you have the talent, you get hot and you make a run to the state tournament, right? And then obviously come up short versus the eventual state champion. But when you assess all of that and you look back on it, what's the big takeaway there? What's the key lesson learned from last year springboarding you into this year?
Well, I mean, a lot of people see the results at the end. We made it to the state tournament. That's something that, can't take away from the kids. That's awesome. But I mean, our year did not start off well. I mean, we did not our chemistry wasn't there. We had some girls that, didn't fit in where I thought they should be. And we ended up moving some girls around and, especially defensively, I think we really got better once we took Cassie Lozano and put her in the back. And that really changed because she got a lot of speed, but she can play just about everywhere. So I think that was a big part of our push about 3 or 4 games in the district. And like I said, we started 0-1-2, I believe, in district last year. Like I said, did not play well. But after that third game, we pretty much figured out where our weaknesses were. We fixed those areas. And that really propelled us into the run that we made. We struggled against Davenport. Davenport's always a good team. Wimberley's always a good team. Canyon Lake, Fredericksburg. I mean, I feel like our district is probably the toughest district in the state of Texas. I mean, I know you probably have like Salina and I want to say like Anna, I think is in that district, but we have 4 or 5 high-powered teams in our district. When you look at preseason rankings this year, I mean, 5 of the teams out of our region were in the top 10. Or actually was it the top 5 teams out of our top 10 were from our district. And so it's a powerhouse, but yeah, we went through playoffs last year and, we had a good run at it. Unfortunately we did run into Salina. We were kind of shorthanded in that game. Don't talk about it a lot. Had Kylie Combs, which I appreciate you, talking about her the other day on your podcast, inside high school soccer. She scored her 100th goal, which is awesome, and she didn't get to play in that state semifinal game. She ended up getting a red card in the regional championship. So we're a girl down there. And then our other forward had a bum ankle. And so, really we were struggling off, create anything offensively. So but we held our own defensively. I thought we held our own, and our keeper, Kinsley Sawyer, she ended up with setting a state record with 12 saves.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And last
great
year,
performance. Great performance.
Yeah. She's a stud back there. So she, really she plays center back, but out of necessity, we need her at keeper. And so
imagine that. Wow, that's awesome.
That's kind of how last year went. And like I said, we got a little bitter taste in our mouth, and I think we're, excited and ready to make another run at it this year.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. You talk about your keeper, you talk about even, your forward, and it's just, it's kind of the riches that you have, right? It's someone specializes at center back. It's like, oh, hey, we need you in we need you in goal. And she goes out and gives like a historic performance in goal, right, at the state tournament level. So that's pretty phenomenal. So kudos to, your entire program, obviously. So you mentioned your district, right? 26-4A is largely the same, right? Just minus 1 team that dropped. So you're kind of in that minority across the state, regardless of classification, right? 4A, 5A, 6A. There aren't a ton, right? So there aren't a ton per classification where the districts are largely the same, right? So, but it is an extremely tough district, right? And obviously Salina's district looks different this year. So you can make that argument that 26-4A is arguably the toughest one in the state. Some people will feel differently, obviously, but I understand where you're coming from. I've had a chance, you've mentioned some of them, you rattled some of them off, including the Wimberleys of the world, the defending district champion, Canyon Lake. You talk about even Fredericksburg, some of the other programs, great programs you have in this district. And, Wimberley's one that I got to see recently with Coach Nichols' squad. I got to see up close and personal. But you're right. It's an extremely tough district. So how do you, when you look at it this year, right, and just maybe projections and kind of what you feel that district is going to kind of look like, what are your thoughts on that this year?
I think it's still going to be a tough road. I mean, here in a minute, or in a couple of days, we're going to actually have all 4 of those teams back to back, and it's not like going to be any slouch. I mean, we're going to have to get ourselves ready each and every day. I talked to our girls about being 1-0. I mean, we can't look to the future until we take care of today.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're bought into that. I mean, we don't look, way ahead. We're focused right now on Davenport tomorrow. It's kind of a different week with all the ice and everything, but I think we just got to focus on one team at a time moving forward. Like I said, any team in our district can beat us on any day, but we've got to be able to bring our A game every day. And I think right now, honestly, we're playing at probably the best we've played in my 3 years as the head coach. I think all of our pieces are in the right place. And like I said, I'm excited about these girls getting out there and proving people wrong. I know some people maybe online are saying, this ain't the same Boerne team, which is not. This year is a whole different team. We lost a couple seniors last year, and every year is a new year. New people are going to step up. We've had some injuries throughout this year already, and we've had other people step up and play well. And so, I mean, I'm excited, like I said, what we can do going through district. I think it's going to be a tough district. I think, I haven't put eyes on Wimberley like you have, but they're always good. I mean, they're always predominantly good. They'll have Emily Thanes as their forward. I mean, she's probably one of the fastest girls in our district. But, I mean, we prepared ourselves by playing O'Connor this year. You talked about them a little bit on your podcast on Monday. They had a lot of speed everywhere. And at that time, we were missing some center backs, and, we struggled a little bit there in that game. But like I said earlier, we found another one that we can put back there and play at another high level. And so that makes us even better. It makes us even better in the long run, because now we have several other girls that can play in the back and help us out back there. But like I said, our district is tough. Canyon Lake is no slouch either. I mean, they've got a lot of returners this year as well. Davenport always plays us tough. I mean, Coach Morrison over there has got them rolling, doing a good job with them. So it's going to be interesting for sure. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I held off on mentioning Davenport because I know you have them tomorrow, and they're kind of the younger team, right? The new kid on the block, but yet they're strong, right? Already. So they're going to be in the mix. They're a well-coached, talented squad. And obviously tomorrow you take on them at what time, Coach? What's that time tomorrow?
6 o'clock tomorrow night at their place.
And is that at Davenport, right? Yeah.
At Davenport.
Yeah. So we look at this year, right? We just kind of went down some of the district opponents, but this year you're currently 10-2, 1-0 in district play, tied for first. Thoughts on when you go back to last season's team, right? In terms of personality, and then so far up until this point, what is different in personality wise? Maybe what have you gauged? What makes this team have their own identity this year from last year's team?
Well, I always talk to the girls about this too, is that, sometimes when you have a lot of quality players on the field at the same time, you're going to have some off the field issues. You're going to have some problems. You're going to have whatever. But, we don't have that anymore. I mean, we don't have that. I think we've rectified a lot of the things that we have. I mean, sometimes, things come up and we got to deal with them, and they affect our team. But I think this year we've kind of rectified all that. I think we've had a lot of team meetings. I think we've, talked about those things, and we are just like energetic. I mean, that's the biggest difference I see right now. Is like the other night when we played Fredericksburg. I mean, we were playing like our hair was on fire. It was like, we were all over the field, flying around, speed, and everybody was communicating well, being positive with each other. You can just tell the love out there on the field, and that resonates from our seniors. Our seniors are really the ones that lead that, and everybody follows their path, and I'm just excited about them getting out there and playing. Sometimes it's in the past it's been like trying to pull teeth to get them out there and going, and it takes 5-10 minutes to get us going, and then we start playing really well. But now I think it's just the excitement is there. We know what we're doing. We know who's in what position. We know how we play together well, how we communicate, all those things that are starting to come together. I just think that our excitement, our love for each other, and our love, playing the game. I think every time we go out on the field, it shows. And I think that's just something that's might be real simple, but it's something that's really, I think, taken off for us.
Right. It sounds simple, but not easy to do, right?
No,
right? When you're trying to put a team together as a coach, right? So, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing I wanted to mention, what I noticed. So, for example, I'll give you a specific example that I just noticed recently. So your senior, right? Your stud senior, Kylie Combs, she scores her 100th goal. I actually watched that video, and what I like to witness, what I like to watch is when a team scores, is their celebration, right? Not a choreographed celebration, nothing like that, where you're trying to show up the opponent, but just the genuine. When a team, I notice a lot when a team has genuine joy for their teammate, right? They're celebrating a goal as if it were their own. Um, that stood out to me in your squad, right? That night, something as simple as that, watching that video. And what made it really obvious was your own goalkeeper, right? She runs the length of
came
the
all the way down
field.
the field. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
in the celebration. These are the kind of things that certain people pay attention to, right? That say
Right.
they speak volumes, right? They speak volume. If you're watching closely, they speak volumes. So
Right.
yeah, so kudos. Yeah, I would agree. What I've seen already from your squad, that maybe looks, not a knock on last year's squad, but that is something that I noticed this year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our off season, we talked about being selfless, and I think a lot of our kids have bought into that. It doesn't matter who scores the goals. It nobody cares. It can start all the way in the back with our center back or our outside fullback or something. Starting the pass up the field and then making the connections all the way up, and then Kylie ends up finishing it. But a lot of times we forget about all the ones that started it way in the back and got the ball up the field to where potentially got into the goal. Going even to that corner kick, Madeline Davis put that ball exactly where it needed to be.
Right.
And
Right.
she's the first person that you can see on the film that runs out and like hugs her and basically tackles her, because they're so excited for her.
Yeah.
And so, that's another one. If you watch us, Madeline Davis in our midfield, she is a spark plug, man. She'll do anything. She's one of those people that I listened to something not too long ago by Gino Ariema, the UConn girls basketball coach, and sometimes you have good players and you have great players, and great players are the ones that never get tired. And
Yep.
Madeline's one of those girls that never gets tired. It's like I can't take her off the field because she's just 100 miles an hour. And so, again, it's just the excitement that we have, all the way around. I mean, I can keep going with all of our players, and how excited I am for them and the way they're playing right now. It's through the roof. So,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Now we know, and I'm glad you've mentioned that, because one of the things, obviously, in the interest of saving time, because I know ideally you would go through every single player, but
Oh yeah.
tell us, maybe highlight maybe one or two players for us that maybe more people should know about, more that day in and day out, maybe in the training sessions, not just in the games, that are really a big part of this program. Maybe can you do that for us? Maybe tell us about one or two.
Well, I'm going to highlight some of the girls that not a lot of people know about, but they are just mainstays. I mean, they're just
Right.
probably the
Yeah.
most positive people on our field, and that's outside of the ones I've already mentioned. But Sophie Harper, she's one of our other midfielders, and she's one of those girls that you can tell her to run through a brick wall and she would do it. I mean, she is, but she's always also trying to better herself. She always asks me what she can do to get better, and she's always, she never misses practice. She's always on time. She's, one of those girls that, a lot of times we take for granted, but she does a lot of the dirty work behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
and then also Avery Ukiley, who's a sophomore playing our right wing. She gives us now the option of crossing it in from both sides. Taylor Hudson, who has a great left foot from the left side, can cross that ball from anywhere. But Avery also now gives that big opportunity on the right side. She's got speed. She can handle the ball. She passes the ball well. She moves without the ball well. And she gets that ball back into the box when we need it to. And so those are, those two players in general are the ones that are kind of under the radar. And then lastly, I'll talk about a new girl that we have is Kaylee Stringfellow. We kind of worried about what we would do in the midfield, and she actually moved in from Geneva in the off season. So we're actually kind of excited. We're excited to have her. She can do a lot of things for us. She actually is one that we took out of the midfield and helped us in the back when we had some center backs down, and so that really helped us out quite a bit. I mean, like I said, I can go through all of them, but I mean those are the three main ones that I really wanted to highlight, because those are the ones that don't get as much recognition as everybody else. So there you go.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. So going to put you here on the spot a little bit, Coach, these next couple of questions. All right. So what has you, if you could narrow it down to maybe one thing, because I'm sure there's a ton, but if you could narrow it down to one thing, what has you maybe the most excited about this team this season?
I think just our senior class. Because this is the first real group that I came in with, 4 years ago, and transitioning and being the head coach, and they've stuck with me. I think my senior class is just probably I think 11, 12. I got 12 seniors this year. And that's by far the most I've had. And so that shows not only their dedication all 4 years, but that's them trusting in me to coach them all the way through. So I think just our leadership with our seniors, I think it's one of the main things that really propelled me this year.
Gotcha. How do you define success for the 2023 Boerne Greyhounds?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. How do I define success? Well, I never try to, determine success by wins and losses. I think it's one of those things. I think if the girls are competing at a high level, if they're putting in effort, because I think, just like in football for us, it's effort trumps everything. I mean, if we're putting out the effort and we're going 100 miles an hour and we get beaten despite that, well, I mean, so be it. That is what it is. But, I just try to outwork everybody. I think we do a good job. I think our off season really speaks for itself if y'all ever have an opportunity to come. But I think just in general, it's just so much fun to go out there and compete with these girls and just all off season and those seniors, guiding the way. I think it's just phenomenal what we've been able to create this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard in there somewhere was an invite this summer, right, to the Boerne Greyhound off season. Is that what I heard? Did I hear that?
Oh yeah,
right?
Come on. It's never a dull day.
Absolutely. Oh, I promise if Coach Strong and I are in the same room, it's definitely not going to be a dull day, right? So, no, absolutely. We just might have to take you up on that.
We'll invite him too. He can come along.
Yeah. Yeah. So now shifting gears here, Coach, got a couple questions here for you regarding the state of the high school game, right? In our state. What have you, so you look at, I like to ask this from time to time, certain coaches, certain programs, and they've been around a certain amount of time, at least and you're right at that mark in terms of 5 years, right? In those 5 years, what have you noticed? What's one or two things that has really changed in terms of Texas high school soccer?
Well, just in the 5 years that I've experienced it, we've seen, like, I think just a increase in the amount of talent that we have. And that's not just in Boerne, that's just statewide. I think we've just got a lot of girls that participate in club soccer, and whatever club it is. I mean, I think there's more girls that are engaged in that. I think there's just girls playing year round, which really helps to develop them as a player, but also helps their team in the long run. I mean, that's the biggest thing I've seen. Going all the way back to when I was going to high school, there was no club. There was none of that. We didn't have any of this stuff. But I think the more exposure you get for these kids to be out on the field and working and touching the ball and whatever else they got going on in the off season, I think it's just going to better them, which we've seen. Like I said, there's no slouch in our district, and our every other team in the state's getting better and better as well. It's enjoyable to go watch these tournament games and see all the talent that's out there. I just think it's gotten so much better, not only in the last 5 years, but probably the last 10 to 15 years. It's just so much better talent wise.
Yeah, I would agree. How about, so here's the other one though. The other side of that is, we talked about the last 5 years, but you got to look in your crystal ball here. What would you say, maybe one, maybe two changes that you see happening, or you would hope to happen, or you can see happening in those next 5 years?
Man, I don't know if I can even answer that question because like you said, I don't have a crystal ball here. I can't really foresee a whole lot. If it continues going in the direction that it is now, I think it's just going to be a better game down the road. I'm not sure if I can really pinpoint anything that I can foresee that I would like to see changed or anything like that. But I just see that it's going to get better and better as it goes. I'm sorry.
Is there something you would like to see change? If Coach Shannon could have one request, is there something to the state? Is there something that you would like one request of a change in the game?
Put me on the spot on this one. Put me on the spot on this one.
We ask the tough questions here.
But sometimes I don't have the answer to those tough questions. Those are above my pay grade. But I really don't foresee anything that I can pinpoint right now. Honestly, the only thing I don't mean to be, picky about this, but sometimes we don't hardly get officials enough to where we have 3. We always have 2. And a lot of times, just for me, I think I would hope that we can continue to push to get 3 at every game, even whether it's like district games or playoff games or whatever it might be. But I know sometimes the officials miss certain calls, and it's no fault to them. But I think just helping us out with that, just trying to get it. And I know that there's a shortage and stuff like that, but I'd love to have at least 3 officials on the field where they can see the game a little better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really
and you hit on it. I mean, that was kind of a point of emphasis at the end of our most recent episode of Inside Texas High School Soccer. I'm not sure if you saw that, but yeah, the critical shortage, right, of officials right now, and it took a huge turn, kind of transitioning out of the pandemic, right? So so that becomes one of the things, right? If you're a coach out there, maybe talk to your players about considering becoming officials while they're in high school, or even if you talk to your middle school, right, your feeder system, have them consider, because it's going to make them better players as well.
Yeah.
But the other piece is factor that in. If you're a coach out there, factor that in terms of the relationships that you're trying to build with officials, because I think now we're at that stage where we're going to need a new blood, if you will, right? A younger group. And just like players and just like coaches, officials have to develop as well. They have to gain that experience. Yeah. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one, I know. But yeah, I know we put you on the spot a little bit there, Coach, but you did great. You kind of gave some diplomatic answers there, but hey, I get it.
Yeah.
No, this has been great, Coach. We know you're going to stick around. We're going to bring you back for a second segment. We get to pick on you a little bit with our counterattack segment. So Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. As the lead sponsor and proud supporter of the 50/50 podcast, alongside Coach Hector Cano, College Promoters is proud to be elevating its support for the college soccer recruiting process more than any other service in the country. If your son or daughter is serious about competing in college soccer, call College Promoters USA directly at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athlete.
And we are back with Coach Jeremy Shannon, the head women's soccer coach of the Boerne Greyhounds, the Lady Greyhounds, that is. Coach, it is about that time.
All right, bring it on.
All right. So I'm going to keep you on ice here for a little bit before we do. I want to tell you about our good friends at Gipper, right? So Gipper they're doing some tremendous things. Gipper is the way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 2,500 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. So if you're a newbie, you're trying to save time, they have tremendous templates. And if you're more of the powered user, the experienced user, they tailor to them as well. So lots of options, lots of opportunities. So we've teamed up with them. We've joined forces with them for about 7 months now. And you can actually save money just for being a listener of the 50/50 podcast. You can receive 50% off any first-time Gipper purchase. All you have to do is go to gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. All right, Coach, it is that time.
All right.
Any final questions, final thoughts, final words?
Nope.
Nothing?
Bring it on.
All right. Okay. All right, let's go. First one. What is a phobia of yours?
Oh, man. I think one of the biggest fear is fear of not succeeding. I think fear of not being, putting all the ducks in a row and getting everything lined out the way you want it, and then not being successful. I mean, I think that's what drives me more than anything is to, by pushing myself and pushing our girls, I think we are successful. And I fear that sometimes I have in the back of my mind, I may have some doubt, and I'm like, I got to get that out. But sometimes I have that fear though of not being successful.
Okay. Good. Yeah. A lot of us can relate to that, right? Something you wish you would have been told before entering coaching.
Ooh, something that I wish I was told before I entered coaching. I think it's the amount of passion you have to have, not only for your job, but also for the kids that you coach. Because a lot of times what you find out is that you spend more time with those kids than you do with your own kids. And so you definitely need to make sure you prioritize that for yourself. I don't want to take away from my kids, but I know these teams that I coach are needing me, and they want to be a part of my life, and I want to be a part of theirs. And so again, that just comes back to being successful. I think it's just pushing ourselves to do that. But I think just, the time constraint and the passion that you have to put into your job, but also sometimes it takes away from your own family.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's such a great point too. Just the amount of time we're away from our own children. Yeah. It goes without saying. Sunrise or sunset? Which one are you?
Sunrise. I'm an early bird. I like getting up. I like getting going. I like, that's me. I like to, get started with my day. It's something I've always done. I've always gotten up early. I've always been part of that group that likes to get up and have this coffee and get to work. I mean, I'm one of those people, like the last 2 days have been a struggle for me because I haven't been able to get up and get to work. No, I'm more of a sunrise guy.
There you go. Okay. Are you a meme, GIF, or emoji guy, or maybe all three? I don't know. Preference there? Which one?
Gosh, I honestly, I hate all of them. But if I had to say I was any of them, I'd say emoji. And I only say that because my mom, like if she doesn't send at least 8 to 10 emojis per text message, there's something wrong. And so my mom's like that. And so I'll say that I'm an emoji guy.
Okay. Now, what's the go-to emoji, right? Because mom might be listening, right? So you gotta tell us what is it.
I got my own little avatar. You know how everybody has their own little avatar that they have.
Oh yeah.
So it's always one of those. It's the guy with the fist pump. That's my go-to.
Okay. All right. So the next one's probably going to stir up some controversy here, but it's a soccer one, so we're going to make you think here a little bit. So, in your opinion, greatest ever male and or female soccer player? You can do just one or both. What would you say? Your personal opinion.
Golly. I don't know, just like the craze right now, I think it's just Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo on the guy's side for sure. I think he's above and beyond everybody else. But Messi, he's there too. I mean, he just won himself a World Cup. I mean, both those guys are good, but I mean, if I had to pull one out of my hat, I'd say Ronaldo. And then,
gotcha.
That'd be the one I'd pick.
Okay, good. One thing you'd change, I kind of alluded to this a little bit, right, when you gave the diplomatic answer earlier, but this is on a larger scale, not Texas high school soccer, but so Coach Shannon is appointed the soccer czar in America. You are in charge of all of soccer in
That'd be
America,
scary.
right? Yeah. what is the very first agenda item number one? What is the very first change you would make in soccer in America tomorrow? Anything goes. You can do anything.
Golly.
You are the pay grade, right? It's not above
These
you.
political, I hate these questions. These are these are ones that are gonna get me in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. I can change.
No one's
anything.
listening. No one's listening anyway, Coach. Don't worry. No one's listening.
Man. Yeah, nobody's listening. Yeah, right. And I can't answer that. I don't know where to go from there.
No, nothing. Oh man. All right, maybe we'll come back to that. We'll let
Wait,
you,
wait,
I'll let
what
you-
does Strong say?
Oh, I don't even remember. He's been on so many times. I don't even remember. I'd have to go back and check that. I don't know if I even actually asked him that, to be honest.
Well,
So
you
we might
shouldn't
have to
ask me
pull.
that either. Then
We might have to pull the film. Hey, we got to start somewhere. We got to start a new tradition somewhere. Come on now.
go next
All
one.
right.
Let's try next.
Yeah. All right. Who would play you in a movie? They're making a movie of Coach Shannon's life story.
Jeez.
Who's playing you? Doesn't have to look like you. It can be personality based, whatever. But who would fill that role?
I'd like to say The Rock, but I'm not like that. I don't even depict that at all. I think maybe Jim Carrey. I'll go with Jim Carrey. Maybe he could play like he played in what's that movie that he had? It was a more serious one, The Truman Show. I think it'd be a little bit
Truman
more
Show, yeah.
serious. A little bit
Okay.
more serious.
All right. Is he even still acting? I don't know. When's the last time he came out with a movie? Now that you say that, it got me thinking.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
he needs to get out there and get to work again. I like his movies.
Right. I'll let him know you said that. All right. So next one. If not an educator and a coach, you would have been what?
I was a biology major actually out of college, and so my first plan was actually to go to med school. But then I had a couple mentors in high school that really steered me to be a coach. He's now the head coach at Lake Worth in Dallas. Tracy Welch and his brother Jack Welch and a couple of the other guys. Those are the guys that mentored me growing up in high school and put me on the path to be a coach. So I owe all that to them.
Okay, good. Now you got to be completely objective here, right? So scale of 1 to 10, how good or bad of a driver are you? A one is the bottom end. They need to revoke your driver's license effective immediately. A 10 is you are the DPS standard.
Oh, I've got to be up high. I mean, I'll probably say a 9. I mean, I'm a really good driver. I've never been actually. I've been in one fender bender, but that wasn't my fault.
Of course,
but for the most part, I mean, I live kind of on the line of, speeding everywhere I go. But I've had my fair share of tickets, but I feel like I'm a really good driver overall.
Truth be told, every coach I think the lowest score a coach has ever rated themselves has been an 8. I think.
I'm more of like an offensive driver. You got to be an offensive driver. You can't be a defensive driver. I tell my mom that all the time. She's a defensive driver. I say you're going to cause more problems being a defensive driver than you are an offensive driver. You got to go and get out of the way.
That's the best defense, right? An attack is the best strong offense, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Next one. Favorite, so maybe growing up and now, right? You can answer one or both. Favorite TV show?
Oh, man. You may be able to remember this one, but Married with Children with Al Bundy and them, that was my favorite growing up. I mean, hands down. The humor in that was, new age at that time.
I still can't see him as anything else.
Anybody else other than Al Bundy.
What was the other show he was in for? Modern Family, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
He was in that for a while, but I still see him as Al Bundy. Yeah, I can't see him as anything else.
There's another movie he came out with, I think it's called Dutch. I think he was like a a stepdad to this
Oh,
kid,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Wasn't
they're
he
going
kind of
on
more, that was kind of more of a, that was more of a serious one though, wasn't it?
a little bit more serious, yeah, a little bit more
Yeah.
serious, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely different from the show.
Gotcha. So anything current, favorite current show or no?
Current show. Well, I'm a forensic science teacher, so I like a lot of the forensic files.
There you go. Nice.
Right,
Yeah.
huh?
Those are
Or
pretty,
anything that deals with true crime.
yeah.
I'm a sucker for that. My wife
Yeah.
hates it, but she hates it when I
Yeah.
watch that stuff.
I grew up watching back in the 90s. I don't know if you remember. You'll probably know this being a forensics guy, but Dr. Michael Bodden, right? Does that name ring a bell?
Give me some more insight.
Yeah, he had, I don't recall the name of the show, but he's one of, I think, one of those pioneers, trailblazers in the forensic science field. And used to come out, I just can't remember what the name of the show was called, but I think it was called the original like Autopsy or something like that. But
Okay.
but yeah, he was one of those foremost experts back in, as far back as I think the 90s, I think. So
I'll have to look
yeah,
that
those
up.
are pretty fascinating. Those are pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Superpower here. You can only have one or the other. Invisible or mind reader.
I think mind reader. Sometimes I always want to know what's going on in people's mind, what's going on, what are they thinking, whether their likes, dislikes, where are they at mentally, all that type of stuff. I think I'd like to be a mind reader for sure.
Gotcha.
Invisible,
Okay.
I mean, you can just get in anywhere. You just nobody gets to see you.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. Next one. How would, given everything you know now in terms of coaching, right? And you could go back to when you were a young athlete, how would you, if you could go back and now coach you, how would you have coached you?
I think sometimes with me, you had to have patience. You had to have patience with me. I was kind of one of those that thought I knew it all. Sometimes I took things for granted. I sometimes did my own thing, which I thought was the right thing to do, and it just wasn't. So I think as a coach, I would have to be more, want to be more patient with myself, and just make sure that I'm listening, make sure that I thoroughly understand what's going on, and just more patience. I think that would help me out a lot.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think I think that's all of us, right? Next one. So the next one is, we're going to end on this one, Coach. So this is we got a bonus question here. So from Coach Rafa, who's my co-host on Inside Texas High School Soccer. So how does Coach Shannon feel about playing one round of district games and then play a district tournament for the district title and playoff seeding? Thoughts on that one?
Whew. Well, that's a lot that goes into that. I think if you play a good first round, let's say, but then you end up having some people injured, it could really hurt you in the tournament. I mean, obviously, it can hurt you in district games, but at the same time, you have time to, get those kids healthy. If we stay with the round and the games kind of split up, every 3 days. I don't know. That'd be tough. How long are you talking about, like for a district tourney, like a 2 or 3 day?
Yeah, that's a great, I guess it just depends on this, excuse me, on the size of the district and who qualifies, right? But this isn't exactly a hypothetical, because this actually does exist in, at least I know for sure, some of the Houston districts on the private school side, on the TAPS side, because the districts are so large, right? And they can't really afford to play each other twice, especially travel and what have you.
Right.
So what they've done in the past is they do essentially, this concept is they play everybody once, and it determines so every game is very critical, right?
Sure.
And excuse me, and it determines seedings. So, and then one of the variations that I've seen in the past is the 1 and 2 seed. So for example, let's say you have a 10, 11 team district, right? And four slots are advancing to the playoffs. So if you finish maybe at least first, right, you would be guaranteed during the first round of district play, you would be guaranteed advancing to the playoffs, but you wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed the automatic number 1 seed. Like you would still have to win out the tournament, right? But usually the first place team at the end of the first round of play was at least guaranteed that. And then I've seen it in some districts where the top 2 teams were automatically they were safe in terms of advancing. They would usually receive some sort of first round bye, and then the spacing in terms of games as far as in the tournament play, it just varied. I think it was typically 2 days, maybe 3 days, somewhere in there. They would usually give themselves about a week or so to play the entire tournament. It just depends how many games you're talking about, whether it's quarterfinals set up, 3 games. I think it's usually ends up being about 3 games.
Okay. Another thing I think about too is like, I mean, if you play around, the first round and you're like the top team going into that, and then, and let's say you have a 10, 11 team district, and then, you have 6, maybe even, more teams that are pretty darn even when you get into that district. You're sitting 1 going in, and then you may actually, after the tournament, not even make it in. So, I mean, that would be, in my opinion, the downfall of that. If you have tons of teams that are good in that district, that could really throw a wrench in your plan, especially if you come out of the first round as being the top team. Like you said, it does force you to play each and every day. I can see where that could really ruffle some feathers if that were to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing about it is, as you know, I think there is no perfect model. I think that's what we quickly realize. But I mean, then again, I guess just to be a bit of a contrarian, I mean, look at you all last year, right? Didn't win the district title, but then you go on that run, right, into the playoffs. And so I think so there's never a perfect scenario. I think that one is a bit of a I think that's a bit of a kind of a hypothetical, but I know in some of these large districts or where travel is an issue, that has been brought up on multiple occasions.
It's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
First I've heard of it. So
yeah,
makes you ponder a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, Coach, this has been awesome. We've it's been a joy to have you on here. Have loved it. Yeah, that's it. I told you.
I appreciate you having me.
Over there. Yeah. Oh no, hey, let's come back. Got to come back to that one question, right? One change in soccer in America. Come on. I know you got something. Okay. Come on.
No, I don't feel like there needs to be any change. Okay, all right. Well, the only thing I can think of is, and it's not even really a change. I mean, it's to me, I think we need to, if like we go to like tournaments, like everybody has something different at tournaments. Which is, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Is like, you go to one tournament and let's say it's the same tournament, boys and girls, but then boys, they'll always finish the game. If it's tied, they'll go to PKs. But in another tournament, which is with the girls, they don't finish in PKs. They just let the game be over, right? You end in a tie and stuff like that. I think just if we can figure out a way to keep everything more uniform and I think that's something too. And I like these new tournaments that are also doing like 25-minute halves, but really, how are you saying that that's a full game? How's that like get you a win on the win column when you're not even playing a complete game? And I know it probably is just tournament rules and what have you, but I don't think it's, you're cut short on what could possibly be the outcome of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it just goes back to what we were just talking about, right? There is no exact format, but I can definitely understand where you're coming from in terms of the consistency piece. And I know you mentioned tournaments, but it's a big one in district play, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know a lot of districts play it out, even district games that are ending in a tie.
Right.
That to me, I think, obviously it's a district decision, and each district can make their own decision. But I think, if we can come to an agreement uniform all the way across the board, I think that'll,
Yeah. It seems to me the consensus on that is UAL doesn't really want to be involved in that, right? They don't want to determine that on behalf of different schools, different districts, travel after a match, extending a match, what have you. So they leave it up to the districts and district bylaws, right? So for example, what is, if you don't mind me asking, 26-4A, what is their policy if a match is still tied at the end of regulation? Do you all go straight to penalty?
We don't. That's just it. We go to a tie. That's it. And then we have a numbering system for wins, losses, ties, and then so our DEC or our district chair just keeps up with those points. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's very much an inconsistent thing as well, right? As you see different districts doing different things as well. So yeah, so I can definitely understand that. Yeah, that's a really good one actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's going to do it, Coach. That's going to do it.
I appreciate you having me and shining some light on the Boerne Greyhounds growth program. I appreciate it. Our community appreciates it. Our high school and everybody appreciates it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might have just done it there, but what I was going to say is before we let you go is, as is customary, what we do is we try to end the show on our final thoughts. So shout outs, thank yous, whatever's on your mind regarding your team, regarding the game, anything you want to share. We like to end with final thoughts first. And since you are our guest, the floor is yours, Coach.
I just want to say thank you to Greyhound Nation for all the support that y'all give me, administrators, high school, just our kids, our parents, everybody that's supported me and our program over the years. Thank y'all for that. Again, my seniors, this has been a great run so far. Let's finish this thing out on a good note, and contributing players, be hungry, be ready to go tomorrow. And again, Hector, thanks for having us and being part of the 50/50 podcast. It was awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been great, Coach. We want to wish you the absolute best of luck the rest of the way. And also, so we know you have Davenport tomorrow at Davenport, 6 p.m.
Yes,
What's after that? What's the rest of the schedule looking like after
Friday? We're at home versus Bandera.
Okay.
And then I think we turn around next and have Greater Hearts and then Wimberley, I believe. I think that's the philosophy. Again, it's one of those, don't think too far ahead, be 1-0 today. So I try not to think too far ahead, but I think that's the order of events. And then we finish up our first round with Canyon Lake.
Gotcha. Okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we share my final thoughts in terms of going to keep it very basic, very simple in light of what's going on across the state. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the only places in the state that have played in the last couple of days have been the El Paso area, Houston, greater Houston area, and parts of the Valley. If I understand that correctly, everyone else has been shut down. So good luck to all teams as they try to kind of iron things out and get back on track. I know you're going to have a lot of Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday formats this week as far as trying to make up games. So best of luck to everybody, making sure you get back safely to campus, hopefully tomorrow, at least for most schools, not necessarily all, as we transition out of this winter storm. So please be safe. Look forward to seeing everybody back and then covering those games back across the state soon, as early as tomorrow. So Coach, good luck the rest of the way with your season. For our listeners,
thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. For our listeners, again, you can find us. You can find us on social media at Twitter on Twitter, I should say, at 50_50 pod, as well as on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. You can also find us both on streaming on YouTube as well as on Twitch. We're now also on Twitch. And that's at the 50_50 podcast and at 50_50 pod. And then you can also find us the audio portion, the actual podcast itself, on all major podcast platforms. So whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few, Podbean, or iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, you can find us on all of those. You just got to look up the 50 podcast. So thank you again for our listeners. You're the reason why we do it. We keep saying that every time, so it reminds us of our mission and why we're doing this. So to Coach Shannon and the Lady Greyhounds, want to thank all of you, and you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time,
keep downloading.